His foot slammed into her ribs while she screamed on the wet concrete. A wealthy attorney in a $1,000 suit kicking his wife like a stray dog in a public parking lot. She curled into a ball, begging him to stop. He didn't. He never saw the Navy SEAL watching from 10 feet away. Never heard the Belgian Malinois until 80 pounds of fury exploded from the shadows and locked onto his throat. Marcus Cole stepped into the light. 3 seconds later, the monster realized the truth. He wasn't the most dangerous thing in this parking lot anymore. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. And if this story touches your heart, please subscribe for more. The woman's scream cut through the noise of Portland's Saturday market, like a knife through silk. Marcus Cole's head snapped toward the sound before his conscious mind registered it. His hand tightened on Titan's leash. The Belgian Malinois had already frozen mid-step ears rotating like radar dishes, a low growl building in his chest. "Easy," Marcus murmured. But his own body was already shifting into combat mode. 11 years as a Navy SEAL had wired his nervous system to respond to distress signals faster than thought. His eyes scanned the crowd, filtering faces, cataloging threats, searching for the source. There, near the wine shop. The natural flow of humanity had snagged like fabric on a nail. A man in an expensive charcoal suit was gripping a woman's arm. Not guiding, controlling. His fingers dug into her coat sleeve hard enough to distort the fabric. He was leaning into her space, whispering something that made her flinch like she'd been struck. Marcus didn't move. Not yet. He watched. The woman was maybe late 20s, with auburn hair escaping from a loose bun. She wore a heavy scarf wrapped multiple times around her neck. Despite the mild weather, her posture screamed submission, shoulders hunched, head down, weight on her heels, ready to be knocked over. The man reached past her and slammed a wine bottle onto the counter. The cashier, a teenage girl, jumped backward. The woman, Elena, though Marcus didn't know her name yet, tried to take the bottle back, her hands shaking. "I said the 2016, the man hissed. "Are you stupid? Are you deliberately trying to humiliate me?" His hand closed over hers on the counter. It looked like a lover's touch to anyone glancing casually. But Marcus saw the pressure, the whitening knuckles, the way she bit her lip to keep from crying out. Titan's growl intensified. "I know, boy," Marcus said quietly. "I see it too." The cashier hurriedly scanned a different bottle. The man threw cash on the counter without waiting for change and grabbed the bag with an aggressive snap of his wrist. His other hand found the small of the woman's back. He wasn't guiding her. He was steering her. His fingers dug into her spine like he owned it. They moved toward the exit where Marcus stood. He didn't step aside. The crowd flowed around him like water around a stone, but Marcus occupied the center of the path. Titan sat at his heel, 70 pounds of coiled muscle and barely restrained aggression. The woman looked up. Her eyes met Marcus's for one fleeting second. They were green, beautiful, and absolutely terrified. Something passed between them, a desperate, silent plea that vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the dull gloss of learned helplessness. She dropped her gaze to the floor. The man didn't notice Marcus until he nearly collided with Titan. "What the?" He stumbled back, eyes widening at the dog. Titan's lips peeled back just enough to reveal white canines. A guttural growl vibrated through the air. "Control your animal." The man's voice dripped with entitlement. "This is a public space. You can't just block the path with a dangerous... He only reacts to threats." Marcus's voice was flat, calm. His eyes never left the man's face. "He doesn't like the way you're holding her." Silence. The words hung between them like a drawn blade. The man's face flushed crimson. He looked at the woman, then back at Marcus. His grip on her arm tightened visibly. "Excuse me, who the hell do you think you are? This is none of your—" The woman let out a small gasp of pain. Titan lunged. Just an inch. A controlled warning snap that stopped a hair's breadth from the man's thigh. The man stumbled backward, dragging the woman with him. His bravado crumbled like wet paper. "You're insane, I'm calling the police." But he was already retreating, muttering obscenities. He yanked the woman toward the sliding glass doors. "Move, Elena! Now!" Elena. Her name was Elena. She stumbled after him, head bowed, shoulders curved inward. She didn't look back. The shame was too great. Marcus watched them disappear into the gray rain. The market bustled on around him. A fishmonger shouted prices. A tourist laughed somewhere. But Marcus stood frozen, adrenaline pumping slow and steady through his veins. He had seen that look before. In the villages of Syria. In the eyes of women trapped by men who called themselves protectors while wielding terror like a weapon. His sixth sense, that indefinable intuition that had kept him alive through 3 deployments, was screaming. This wasn't over. "Come on, Titan." He walked toward the exit. The underground parking garage smelled like exhaust fumes and rotting seawater. Marcus moved silently, keeping to the shadows of the support pillars. Titan padded beside him, ears flat, body tense. They had followed the couple down 2 levels, each step taking them further from witnesses, further from help. Marcus knew what was coming. He had seen it 100 times. The public mask would slip. The private monster would emerge. He was right. The man Victor Elena had called him Victor spun around so suddenly that Elena nearly crashed into his chest. "You think that was funny?" His voice echoed off the concrete walls. Not screaming. Not yet. But vibrating with dangerous frequency. Elena stumbled backward. "I didn't say anything, Victor. I swear. I just wanted—" "Shut up." He stepped closer. She stepped back. "You loved that, didn't you? That Neanderthal staring me down? You probably encouraged it. Probably flirted with him when I wasn't looking." No. I would never." "You're pathetic." Another step. "Worthless." Another. "Do you know how hard I work? Do you know what I sacrifice for you? And you can't even buy the right bottle of wine." Elena's back hit the side of a parked sedan. She had nowhere left to go. Marcus watched from behind a concrete pillar 30 feet away. His muscles were coiled springs. His breathing was slow and controlled. He needed legal justification to intervene. He needed an imminent threat. He was about to get one. Victor snatched the grocery bag from Elena's arms and hurled it onto the ground. The sound of shattering glass was sickeningly sharp. Red wine exploded across the wet concrete, spreading in a dark pool that looked disturbingly like blood. "Look what you made me do." Elena stared at the broken glass. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. The words were automatic. Programmed. "I'm so sorry, Victor. Please." I said, "Shut up." The backhand came fast. It caught Elena across the face with a wet, meaty crack that seemed to stop time. Her legs buckled. She collapsed onto the wet pavement, landing hard in the pool of wine and glass shards. She didn't try to get up. She curled into a ball, covering her head with her arms, tucking her knees to her chest. A fetal position that spoke of years of conditioning. Years of learning exactly what came next. Victor stood over her chest, heaving face twisted into a mask of self-righteous rage. "You are worthless. Get up." She didn't move. He drew his leg back. his expensive dress shoe aimed at her exposed ribs. "Tighten fast." The command was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of thunder. 80 pounds of Belgian Malinois exploded from the shadows. Titan covered the distance in 2 bounds, launching himself into the space between Victor and Elena. He landed with teeth bared a bark so deep and ferocious it vibrated in Victor's chest cavity. Victor froze. His foot hovered in midair, his eyes went wide with primal terror. Then Marcus was there. He flowed into the space like smoke, moving with terrifying speed and silence. Victor tried to swing a clumsy, panicked punch. Marcus didn't blink. He sidestepped with minimal effort, caught Victor's extended arm, and used the man's own momentum against him. A sharp twist. A precise application of pressure to the elbow joint. Victor spun. Marcus grabbed the back of his suit jacket and the nape of his neck. Slam! Victor's face met the hood of his own luxury sedan. The impact knocked the wind out of him. In 3 seconds, the situation had completely reversed. Marcus held Victor's arm twisted behind his back, applying just enough torque to immobilize without breaking. Yet. "You're breaking my arm," Victor wheezed, his cheek pressed against wet metal. "Let go. Do you know who I am?" Marcus leaned close, his mouth inches from Victor's ear. He didn't yell. He didn't raise his voice. He spoke with the flat affect of a man who had interrogated terrorists in black sites. "I don't care who you are." He tightened his grip slightly. Victor yelped. "But listen carefully. If you ever touch her again, if you even look at her wrong, this hand—" Marcus gave the wrist another warning twist. "Won't sign legal papers. Won't swipe credit cards. Won't do anything ever again. Do you understand me?" Victor's bravado had evaporated. Pain and humiliation warred across his face. "I understand," he gasped. "I understand." Marcus held him there for another long moment, making sure the message penetrated. Behind them, Elena was still on the ground, staring at the scene with wide, disbelieving eyes. She looked from Titan standing guard over her like a gargoyle made of muscle and teeth, to the man who had materialized from the shadows to neutralize her husband. Who was he? Blue and red lights suddenly washed across the parking garage walls. Sirens wailed from the street level above. Someone had called 911. Marcus released Victor and stepped back slowly, raising his hands to shoulder height. Palms open. The universal sign of compliance. "He's all yours, officers." Victor scrambled off the hood, clutching his shoulder. His face shifted from pain to malicious triumph as he saw the uniforms. "Arrest him." He pointed a shaking finger at Marcus. "That maniac attacked me. He set his dog on me." 2 officers approached. The older one, gray-haired, weary, looked between Victor's expensive suit and Marcus's tactical jacket. The younger one kept her hand on her holster. "Sir, I'm going to need you to keep the dog under control." "He's trained," Marcus said calmly. "He won't move unless I tell him to." "That's exactly what concerns me." The older officer turned to Victor. "Mr. Stone, Victor Stone. I'm a senior partner at Stone & Associates. I know District Attorney Henderson personally." The officer's expression flickered. Recognition. Wariness. Marcus felt the situation shifting. Power was realigning itself along familiar fault lines. Money, status, connections. "I want this man arrested for assault," Victor continued. "He attacked me unprovoked while I was helping my wife into the car. She's right there. She'll confirm everything. Won't you, Elena?" All eyes turned to Elena. She was still on the ground, wine staining her coat glass, shards glittering in her hair. Her face was already swelling from Victor's backhand. A fresh cut on her cheek oozed blood. The female officer knelt beside her. "Ma'am, are you all right? Can you tell us what happened here? Marcus watched Elena's face. He saw the calculation happening behind her eyes, the desperate mathematics of survival. If she told the truth, Victor might be arrested tonight. He would be out on bail by morning. Angrier, more vindictive, and she would be alone with him. The restraining order would be paper. The courts would take months. And Victor knew people. Important people. Elena looked at Marcus, then at Victor, then at the ground. I slipped, she whispered. I was carrying the groceries, and I slipped on the wet concrete. This man, she gestured vaguely toward Marcus. He misunderstood. He thought Victor was hurting me, but Victor was trying to help me up. Marcus closed his eyes. He didn't blame her. He understood the psychology. Survival meant appeasing the monster. Hope was a luxury she couldn't afford. Victor's smile spread across his face like oil on water. You see, a misunderstanding. He straightened his ruined jacket. I'm willing to drop any assault charges against Mr. He glanced at Marcus. What was your name? Cole. Marcus Cole. Mr. Cole. Provided he's given a stern warning to stay away from my family, I have no interest in ruining a veteran's life. The condescension was thick enough to choke on. Even if he is troubled, the older officer sighed. Mr. Cole without a complainant, and with the victim corroborating her husband's story. I understand, Marcus said. His voice was devoid of emotion. I understand perfectly. The process of release was a blur of paperwork and stern warnings. Stay away from the stones. Keep the dog under control. Mind your own business. Marcus signed everything with a steady hand. As the group moved toward the exit, Victor put his arm around Elena. The gesture was possessive, heavy. His fingers dug into her shoulder as he steered her toward the glass doors. Elena walked like a woman going to her own execution. Marcus and Titan walked out at the same time. Their paths converged near the exit. Titan let out a low growl. Not aggressive, just a warning rumble that made Victor flinch. Control your beast, Victor snapped, but his voice wavered. They reached the doors simultaneously. Elena stumbled, exhaustion and trauma destroying her coordination. Instinctively, Marcus reached out to steady her. His hand caught her elbow. For one split second, they were connected. Careful, Marcus said. In that moment, with the sleight of hand he had practiced in a dozen covert operations, he pressed a small, folded piece of paper into her palm. A receipt from the market. On the back, scrawled in pencil, his phone number and a single word. Safe. Elena's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. Her fingers curled around the paper, instantly hiding it in her sleeve. A reflex of secrecy. A spark of rebellion. Victor stepped between them, breaking the contact. He leaned into Marcus's space, close enough that Marcus could smell the mints failing to mask whiskey on his breath. You're a soldier, right? Victor whispered. I can tell. You think you're a hero. Let me tell you something, G.I. Joe. You just picked a fight with the wrong guy. Marcus didn't blink. I own this city, Victor continued. I have judges in my pocket, cops on my payroll. The DA plays golf at my club. You come near us again and I will bury you so deep you'll need a periscope to see the sun. Marcus said nothing. He just looked at Victor's throat, then his eyes, dissecting him like a specimen. The silence stretched. Victor's smile faltered. For just a fraction of a second, he saw something in Marcus's gaze that the police lights hadn't revealed. A promise. Not of legal action. Not of complaints or lawsuits. Something older. Darker. More final. Victor scoffed a sound that didn't quite mask his unease and turned on his heel. Move, Elena. She followed. head down, shoulders hunched, disappearing into the rain. Marcus watched them go. The paper was safely hidden in Elena's hand, a tiny seed of hope planted in the desolate landscape of her life. But hope wasn't enough. He knew what Victor Stone was. He had seen men like him on 3 continents. They didn't stop. They couldn't stop. The violence was oxygen to them. The control was their only identity. And when men like that felt threatened when their power was challenged, they didn't back down. They escalated. Marcus walked to his truck. Titan jumped into the passenger seat. He sat behind the wheel for a long moment, rain drumming on the roof, watching Victor's black sedan disappear into traffic. His phone buzzed. A text from his therapist. "How was the market? Did you find it easier to be in crowds today?" Marcus almost laughed. He didn't reply. Instead, he pulled up a different contact. A name he hadn't used in 2 years. Someone from his SEAL days who had gone into private intelligence work. Bits. He typed 4 words, "I need everything on Victor Stone." The reply came 30 seconds later. "Sending now. You won't like what you find." Marcus didn't expect to like it. He expected to use it. The file arrived in his encrypted inbox 3 hours later. 47 pages of documents, police reports, court filings, and photographs. Marcus sat in his cabin, a small cedar structure on the edge of the Cascade Wilderness, and read every word. Victor Stone, age 42, senior partner at Stone & Associates, one of Portland's most prestigious law firms. Net worth estimated at $14 million. Season tickets to the Trailblazers. Regular donor to the mayor's re-election campaign. Photograph with the governor at a charity gala. On paper, the perfect citizen. The rest of the file told a different story. 2 ex-wives. Both had filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Both had initially sought restraining orders. Both restraining orders had been withdrawn within weeks after substantial financial settlements that included strict non-disclosure agreements. There was a college girlfriend who had accused Victor of assault. The charges had been dropped when she suddenly decided not to cooperate with prosecutors. She had transferred to a different university the following semester. A paralegal at his firm had filed a complaint with HR about inappropriate physical contact. She had resigned 3 weeks later. No further action taken. Pattern after pattern after pattern. Victor Stone wasn't an angry husband who occasionally lost his temper. He was a serial predator, a monster wrapped in Armani and protected by a fortress of money and connections. And Elena was his current victim. Marcus closed the laptop. Titan was lying at his feet, watching him, with amber eyes that seemed to understand everything. "I know, boy," Marcus said quietly. "I know." He had done what he could. Given Elena his number. Planted the seed. The next move had to be hers. But as the rain hammered against the cabin roof and the darkness pressed against the windows, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. That somewhere in Portland, in a glass and steel mansion that looked like a fortress, a woman was learning that there was nowhere to hide. And that when she finally called for help, if she called, he might already be too late. His phone sat on the table beside him. Silent. Dark. He stared at it for a long time. Then he closed his eyes and tried to sleep. The nightmare came as it always did. He was back in Syria. The air smelled of cordite and copper. Dust choked his throat. He was running toward a door, a simple wooden door in a mud brick compound, but his legs wouldn't move fast enough. The ground was quicksand. The door was drifting away. And from the other side he could hear screaming. Not a soldier's scream. A woman's. He had to reach her. He had to save her. But the door kept retreating, and the screaming kept getting louder, and he couldn't. Warmth, pressure on his chest. Marcus's eyes flew open. Titan was there. The Belgian Malinois had sensed the spike in his heart rate, the change in his breathing, and had moved from his rug to the bed. He pressed his heavy head against Marcus's shoulder, letting out a low, soothing whine. "I'm okay," Marcus whispered, his voice ragged. "I'm okay, boy." He wasn't, but having Titan there helped. He buried his hand in the thick fur behind Titan's ears, focusing on the sensation to slow his racing pulse. The clock read 2:03 a.m. The storm outside was still raging, and then his phone buzzed. Marcus went rigid. He didn't get calls at 2 a.m. Not unless someone was dead or dying. Unknown number. He swiped to answer, held it to his ear. Said nothing. Training. Listen first. "Marcus." The voice was a ghost, barely audible, terrified. "I'm here." "He's drunk." Elena's words came in frantic bursts. "He found the texts. To my sister. He thinks I'm plotting to take his money. He's destroying everything. My paintings, my books, everything." Crash. Something shattered in the background. "Where are you right now?" "Bathroom. I locked myself in. But he..." Her voice broke. "He has a gun, Marcus. He went to the safe. He has the Glock, and he's..." Bam! Something heavy slammed against a door. "Elena!" Victor's voice roared through the phone. "Open this door, or I'll blow the lock off." Marcus was already moving, feet hitting cold floorboards, reaching for his pants. "Elena, listen to me. Stay away from the door. Get in the tub if you can. Stay low." He said... She was sobbing now. "He said he's going to kill Benny first. My dog. He said he's going to make me watch." Bam, bam. "I'm coming." Marcus pulled on his boots, not bothering to lace them. "I'm coming right now. Stay on the line if you can." "I can't. He'll hear. He'll..." The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone for one heartbeat. Then he was moving. "Titan Auto." The dog leaped off the bed and sprinted for the door. A gun changed everything. This wasn't a domestic dispute anymore. It was an active shooter situation. And Marcus knew the statistics. He knew that by the time 911 dispatched a car, by the time the car navigated the roads, by the time the officers assessed the situation and called for backup, Elena could be dead. He grabbed his go-bag, trauma kit, pry bar, zip ties, flashlight. No firearm. He was a civilian now, but that didn't matter. He was the weapon. The truck roared to life. Tires sprayed gravel as Marcus tore onto the main road. The estate was 20 minutes away in good weather. He was going to make it in 10. The truck's headlights cut through the rain like knives. Marcus gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white. Beside him, Titan sat rigid in the passenger seat, sensing the urgency radiating from his handler. 20 minutes. That's what the GPS said. Too long. Way too long. Marcus pushed the accelerator harder. The speedometer climbed past 80, 90. The truck hydroplaned slightly on a curve, but he corrected without thinking. His mind was elsewhere. Elena's voice kept replaying in his head. The terror. The desperation. The sound of something heavy slamming against a door. "He has a gun, Marcus. He's going to kill Benny first. Make me watch." Marcus had heard those sounds before. In Syria, in Afghanistan. The sounds that came before everything went wrong. Before the screaming started and didn't stop. His phone buzzed. He glanced down. "Bits." He answered on speaker. "Talk to me." Stone's estate has a security system. Cameras, motion sensors, electronic gate with a 6-digit code. Can you kill it? Already working on it, but Marcus... Bitts paused. There's something else. Stone made a call 20 minutes ago to a guy named Vargas, Luis Vargas. He's bad news, private security, the kind that doesn't ask questions. Marcus's jaw tightened. How bad? 3 assault charges, all dropped. 2 witnesses who changed their stories, 1 who disappeared entirely. Another pause. He's got a crew. 4 guys. And they're not security guards, Marcus. They're enforcers. Victor wasn't just planning to hurt Elena. He was planning to make it look like something else entirely. A break-in gone wrong, a tragic accident. The grieving husband who tried to save his wife but arrived too late. How long until they get there? Unknown. But if Stone called them, when I think he did, they might already be on their way. Or already there. Marcus ended the call. 15 minutes to the estate. Maybe 12 if he pushed it. He pushed it. The gates appeared out of the darkness like the entrance to hell. Tall. Iron. Imposing. A camera mounted on the left pillar swiveled toward his truck. Marcus didn't slow down. He killed the headlights and pulled off the road 100 yards before the entrance, tucking the truck behind a thick stand of Douglas firs. The rain was coming down harder now, turning everything beyond arm's length into a gray blur. Perfect. Titan heel. They moved through the trees like shadows. Marcus had done this 1,000 times in places far more dangerous than a rich man's estate in Oregon. But his heart was pounding anyway. Because this time, it wasn't a mission. It was personal. The perimeter wall was 8 feet of decorative stone. Pretty. Expensive. Useless against someone who had scaled compound walls in Fallujah while taking fire. Marcus vaulted it in one smooth motion. Titan scrambled up behind him using a decorative outcropping as a stepping stone. They landed in the manicured garden on the other side. The house loomed ahead. Glass and steel. Modern. Cold. Every light on the first floor was blazing. Marcus circled to the rear, staying low, using the hedges for cover. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he could see the living room. His blood turned to ice. The room was destroyed. Furniture overturned. A painting, something beautiful. Something that looked like it had been made with love, torn from the wall and shattered. Broken glass everywhere. And in the center of it all, Elena. She was on her knees near the fireplace. Her hands were clasped in front of her, not in prayer, but in supplication. Her face was streaked with tears. A fresh bruise was already darkening on her cheekbone. Victor stood over her, swaying slightly. A half-empty bottle of scotch sat on the mantel behind him. And in his right hand, held with terrifying steadiness, despite his drunkenness, was a Glock 19. He was pointing it at Elena's head. "Please, Victor." Her voice was raw, broken. "I wasn't plotting anything. The texts to Maria were just... I was just telling her I missed her. That's all. I swear on my life." "Your life?" Victor laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Your life belongs to me. Everything you have, everything you are, I made you. And this is how you repay me by conspiring with your sister, by making me look like a fool. I would never... Shut up!" He pressed the barrel of the gun against her forehead. Elena went absolutely still. Her eyes closed. Her lips moved in silent prayer. "You know what the worst part is?" Victor's voice dropped to a conversational tone, almost gentle. That was the most terrifying part. "I loved you. I really did. I gave you everything. The house, the clothes, the lifestyle, and you threw it all back in my face. I'm sorry." The words were automatic now, a survival reflex. "I'm so sorry, Victor. Please, I'll do anything. Just please, anything." He tilted his head. "Will you tell the police that the man with the dog attacked me unprovoked? Will you sign an affidavit? Yes, I'll sign anything. Will you cut off all contact with your sister, change your number, delete your email? Yes. Will you admit that you're nothing without me, that you'd be living in a gutter if I hadn't saved you?" Elena's voice cracked. "Yes." Victor smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I don't believe you." He pulled the gun back and aimed it across the room, at the corner near the kitchen, at the small dog bed where a golden retriever lay trembling. "Benny." "No." Elena lunged forward, grabbing Victor's arm. "Please, not Benny. He's all I have. He's—" Victor backhanded her with his free hand. The crack of flesh on flesh echoed through the room. Elena crumpled to the floor. "He's all you have!" Victor screamed. "He's all you have! What about me? What about everything I've done for you?" He aimed at the dog again. Marcus moved. He didn't have time to find another entry point, didn't have time for subtlety. Elena was on the floor. The gun was pointed at the dog, and in 3 seconds it would be pointed at her again. The pry bar in his hand swung in a tight arc. Crash! The floor-to-ceiling window exploded inward. Glass rained down like diamonds. Marcus was through the opening before the shards hit the ground. Victor spun, startled finger tightening on the trigger. Bang! The shot went wide, punching a hole in the wall inches from Marcus's head. Plaster dust sprayed across his face. He didn't slow down. Titan attack! The Belgian Malinois was already moving. 70 pounds of trained fury launched through the shattered window and hit Victor's gun arm at full speed. Teeth sank into flesh. Victor screamed a high animal sound, and the Glock clattered to the hardwood floor. Marcus closed the distance in 2 strides. Victor was trying to shake Titan off, swinging wildly with his free hand. Marcus caught the swing twisted and drove his elbow into Victor's solar plexus. The lawyer doubled over, gasping. Titan release! The dog let go, instantly stepping back but staying close, ready to re-engage. Marcus grabbed Victor by the collar and slammed him face first onto the floor. One knee in the center of his back. One hand controlling both wrists. Don't move. You're dead, Victor gasped. You hear me? You're dead. Vargas is coming. He's going to... Marcus drove his knee down harder. Victor's words cut off in a wheeze. Elena. She was still on the floor, staring at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. Blood trickled from her split lip. Her whole body was shaking. Elena, I need you to get Benny and move to the kitchen. Can you do that? She didn't respond. Shock had her frozen. Elena. His voice softened. It's okay. You're safe now. But I need you to move. Can you do that for me? Something in his tone broke through. She nodded slowly, pushed herself to her feet, stumbled toward the dog bed where Benny was still cowering. Good. Take him to the kitchen and stay low. Don't come out until I tell you. She gathered the trembling retriever in her arms and disappeared through the doorway. Marcus turned his attention back to Victor. The lawyer was squirming, trying to get leverage. You have no idea what you've done. No idea who you're dealing with. I have connections, judges, politicians. I'll have you buried in lawsuits. You'll what? Marcus leaned down until his mouth was inches from Victor's ear. Call the cops. Tell them you were holding your wife at gunpoint when the bad man broke in. Victor went still. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus continued. In about 10 minutes, the police are going to arrive. When they do, they're going to find a lot of evidence. The gun registered to you, the shell casing, the hole in the wall, your wife's injuries, the documented history of abuse that I'm guessing stretches back years. She'll never testify. She's too scared. Maybe. But I'm not scared, Victor, and I'm very good at finding things people want to stay buried. For the first time, something other than rage flickered in Victor's eyes. Fear. What do you want? He whispered. Right now, I want you to stop moving and wait quietly for the police. After that, Marcus pulled a zip tie from his pocket and secured Victor's wrists behind his back. I want you to remember this moment. Remember how it felt to be powerless, to have someone bigger and stronger decide your fate. He pulled the zip tie tight. Victor hissed in pain. Remember it. Because if you ever come near Elena again, if you so much as send her an email, I will find you, and next time there won't be any police. Headlights swept across the windows. Marcus's head snapped toward the front of the house. Not police lights, no red and blue, just white headlights, multiple vehicles, moving fast. Vargas. They're here. Victor's voice had regained some of its smugness. You're finished. Marcus was already moving. He grabbed the Glock from where it had fallen and ejected the magazine. Cleared the chamber, threw the pieces in opposite directions. Titan, come! He sprinted to the kitchen. Elena was huddled in the corner, Benny clutched to her chest. We need to go. Now! What's happening? Who? Bad men, friends of your husband. We're leaving. He grabbed her arm gently but firmly and pulled her toward the back door. Titan was at his heels. They made it outside just as the front door crashed open. Spread out! Find them! Marcus didn't look back. He pulled Elena into the darkness of the garden, moving fast, keeping low. The rain was their ally now, masking sound and obscuring vision. But Elena wasn't trained for this. She stumbled, cried out. Her bare feet slipped on the wet grass. I can't, Marcus, I can't. Yes, you can. He pulled her up. Focus on me, one step at a time. We're almost at the wall. A flashlight beam swept the garden behind them. There, I see them. Marcus shoved Elena toward the wall. Climb, now. There's a foothold about 3 feet up. I can't climb. You can. He grabbed her waist and lifted her. Grab the top. Pull. Titan will follow. I'm right behind you. She scrambled up, fingernails scraping against stone. Benny was somehow still in her arms. She must have had him in a death grip. Tighten up. The Malinois launched himself at the wall, scrabbling for purchase. Marcus boosted him the last few feet. Crack! A gunshot. Close. Way too close. Stone chips exploded from the wall inches from Marcus's hand. He vaulted up, felt the bullet whip past his ear, and threw himself over the top. He landed hard on the other side, rolled, and came up running. Elena was ahead of him, stumbling through the trees toward where he'd left the truck. Titan was beside her, herding her in the right direction. Keep going! Don't stop! More shouts behind them. More flashlight beams cutting through the rain. But they were over the wall now, and the trees provided cover. Marcus caught up to Elena just as they reached the truck. He yanked open the passenger door. Get in! Hold Benny tight! She climbed in, clutching the dog. Titan jumped into the back seat. Marcus was behind the wheel in seconds, turning the key. The engine roared to life. He slammed into reverse, spraying gravel, then spun the wheel and accelerated down the road. In the rearview mirror, he saw figures emerging from the tree line. One raised a gun. Marcus killed the lights and took the first curve at 60 miles an hour. For 30 seconds, nobody spoke. Elena was hyperventilating, her body racked with silent sobs. Benny whimpered in her arms. Titan panted in the back seat. Then Elena found her voice. "They'll find us. They always find us. Victor knows everyone. The police, the judges, he'll track us down and not where we're going. Where can we possibly? I have a cabin. In the mountains. Off-grid. No address on any database. No connection to my name." Marcus checked the rear view again. Nothing. "We'll be safe there." "Safe," she laughed bitterly. "I don't even know what that word means anymore." Marcus didn't respond, because he understood. After Syria, after watching his team die one by one, he hadn't known what safe meant either. Maybe he still didn't, but he was going to give Elena something he'd never been able to give himself. A fighting chance. The drive took 2 hours. Marcus avoided the main roads, taking a winding route through back highways and logging trails that turned to mud in the rain. Several times he pulled over and killed the engine, waiting in darkness to make sure they weren't being followed. By the time they reached the cabin, Elena had stopped crying. She sat in exhausted silence, Benny sleeping in her lap, her eyes staring at nothing. Shock. The full impact hadn't hit her yet. It would soon. The adrenaline would fade, and the enormity of what had happened would crash down on her like a wave. Marcus had seen it before. In survivors. In victims. In the mirror. The cabin was dark when they arrived. Marcus did a quick perimeter check, old habits, then helped Elena inside. The power was off. He'd have to fire up the generator in the morning. For now, he started a fire in the stone hearth and wrapped Elena in a heavy wool blanket. She sat on the couch, not moving, barely breathing. "Elena." No response. "Elena, look at me." She raised her head. Her eyes were hollow. Empty. "You're safe now. He can't reach you here. No one can. He'll find me." Her voice was barely a whisper. "He always finds me. Not this time. You don't understand." A tear slid down her cheek. "The last time I tried to leave 3 years ago, he found me in 6 hours. 6 hours. I was at my sister's house in Seattle. He showed up with flowers, apologized, told Maria that we'd had a little fight, and he'd overreacted." Another tear. "He waited until we were alone. Then he broke 2 of my ribs." Marcus's hands curled into fists. "He told me that if I ever tried to leave again, he'd kill Maria. Make it look like an accident." Her voice cracked. "I believe him, Marcus. He's capable of it. He's capable of anything." Marcus knelt in front of her, took her hands in his. They were ice cold, trembling. "Listen to me. Victor Stone is not the most dangerous man in this equation anymore. He's a predator who's used to hunting prey that can't fight back. But that's not you. Not anymore. I don't know how to fight. I'll teach you." She looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time since the parking garage. "Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why would you risk your life for a stranger?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. The fire crackled. Rain drummed on the roof. Titan lay at his feet, watching them both. "Because I wasn't fast enough once," he finally said. "And people I loved paid the price." "What happened?" "Syria, 18 months ago." The words came slowly, dragged up from somewhere deep. "Extraction mission. We were supposed to pull out a family, a woman and her 3 children whose husband had been feeding us intel on ISIS positions. Someone leaked our route. They were waiting for us." Elena didn't speak, just listened. "My team took heavy fire. We made it to the compound, but the family was already dead. Executed. The youngest was 4 years old." Marcus's voice stayed flat, controlled. "We fought our way out. Lost 3 men doing it. 3 of my brothers." He looked at his hands, at the scars that webbed his knuckles. I wake up every night hearing that woman's screams, seeing those kids, wondering what I could have done differently, how I could have been faster, smarter, better. It wasn't your fault. I know. Logically, I know. He met her eyes. But that doesn't stop the ghosts. It doesn't bring anyone back. So that's what I am. Her voice was soft. A chance to outrun your ghosts. No. He shook his head. You're a chance to save someone. That's all. That's everything. They sat in silence for a long moment. The fire was warm. The cabin was quiet. Outside, the storm was finally beginning to fade. I'm scared, Elena whispered. I know. I've been scared for so long I forgot what it felt like not to be. Marcus squeezed her hands gently. Then we're going to teach you how to remember. She looked at him through tears. Okay, she said. Teach me. And somewhere in the darkness of the mountains, a monster was waking up. Victor Stone had been humiliated. His face was bruised. His empire was threatening to crumble. And the men he'd hired, the men who'd failed to stop Marcus, were standing in front of him, waiting for orders. Victor looked at his phone. At the tracking app he'd installed on Elena's old phone months ago. The phone she thought she'd hidden so cleverly. The signal was dead. She'd finally thrown it away. But it didn't matter. Because Victor Stone didn't need a phone to find someone. He needed something much simpler. He needed patience. And hate. He had plenty of both. 3 days passed in the cabin like a held breath. Elena barely spoke the first day. She sat by the fire with Benny curled in her lap, staring into the flames, like she was searching for something she'd lost years ago. Marcus gave her space. He understood that kind of silence. It wasn't emptiness. It was processing. The mind trying to catch up with trauma the body had already absorbed. Titan became her shadow. The Belgian Malinois seemed to sense her fragility and appointed himself her guardian. He slept outside her bedroom door, followed her to the bathroom, pressed his warm weight against her legs whenever she sat down. On the second morning, Elena emerged from her room with red-rimmed eyes but steadier hands. I need to call my sister. Marcus looked up from the coffee he was brewing. That's not safe. Victor will be monitoring her phone. She'll think I'm dead. She'll go to the police. I already contacted her. Elena froze. What? Through a secure channel. I have a friend who specializes in that kind of thing. Maria knows you're alive and safe. She knows not to talk to anyone, not to go to the police, and not to answer any calls from numbers she doesn't recognize. You contacted my sister. Without telling me. You were in shock. I made a judgment call. Elena's jaw tightened. For a moment, Marcus thought she might yell at him. Part of him hoped she would. Anger was better than numbness. Anger meant she was starting to fight, but instead she let out a long breath. Thank you. Marcus handed her a cup of coffee. She wanted me to tell you that she loves you, and that she's been waiting 5 years for you to leave him. Elena's eyes filled with tears. She turned away, pressing her hand to her mouth. 5 years, she whispered. God, 5 years I made her watch. You survived 5 years. That's not weakness. That's strength. It doesn't feel like strength. It never does. Not from the inside. She wrapped both hands around the coffee mug, soaking in its warmth. Benny patted over and nuzzled her ankle. What happens now? Now we wait. Victor's going to make a move. Men like him can't stand losing control. He'll do something stupid, and when he does, we'll have him. And if he doesn't? If he's smarter than you think? Marcus met her eyes. Then I'll make him do something stupid. On the third day, Elena asked Marcus to teach her to fight. They started simple. Stance, balance. How to shift weight from heels to the balls of the feet. How to keep hands up without making fists too early. "You're too tense," Marcus said. "You're anticipating the hit before it comes. That makes you rigid. Rigid breaks. I've spent 10 years anticipating hits. It's kind of hard to turn off. I know, but we're going to retrain your instincts. When you see a threat coming, I don't want you to freeze. I want you to move." He demonstrated a simple evasion. Step offline. Pivot. Create distance. Your goal isn't to win a fight. Your goal is to escape. To survive. To create enough space to run. Elena practiced the movement. Once, twice, 10 times. Her footwork was clumsy, but her determination was fierce. "Better." Marcus nodded. "Now let's try it with contact." He threw a slow, telegraphed punch toward her shoulder. Elena flinched, closing her eyes. Eyes open. Always. If you can't see it coming, you can't avoid it. "I'm trying." "I know. Again." He threw another punch. This time Elena kept her eyes open. She stepped offline. Her foot caught on a root and she stumbled, but she didn't freeze. "Good. That was good." "I almost fell." "But you moved. That's the point. Movement is life." They trained for an hour. By the end, Elena was sweating and exhausted, but there was something new in her eyes. Not confidence, not yet, but the beginning of it. A seed that might grow into something stronger. "Same time tomorrow?" she asked. "Same time tomorrow." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind whisper through the Douglas firs. Benny was curled at her feet. Titan was outside her door. She could hear his breathing, slow and steady. Safe. Marcus kept using that word, but she didn't know how to feel safe. Didn't know if she'd ever be able to feel it again. Victor was out there, waiting, planning. She knew him too well to believe he'd simply let her go. He'd burn down the world before he'd accept defeat. She got up and padded into the main room. Marcus was awake. Of course he was. He sat by the dying fire, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at photographs spread across the coffee table. Elena approached quietly. "Can't sleep either." He glanced up. "Nightmares." "The woman in Syria." "Sometimes. Tonight it was something else." He gestured to the photos. "My team." Elena sat down beside him. The photographs showed 6 men in desert camouflage arms, slung around each other's shoulders. Young, invincible, alive. "Echo Team," Marcus said. "Aleppo, 2021. "Which one are you?" He pointed to a figure on the left. Younger, leaner, eyes that hadn't yet learned to carry ghosts. "And them, Jackson, Torres, Williams, Kowalski, Henderson." He touched each face as he named them. "We called ourselves the Six Pack. Dumbest name ever, but we were young and stupid and thought we'd live forever." "What happened?" "Bad intel, ambush, IED." His voice stayed flat, but his hand trembled slightly. "Jackson was 23. Had a baby daughter he'd never met. Torres was supposed to get married when we got back. Williams." He stopped. Took a breath. "Williams saved my life. Threw himself on me when the second explosion hit. Took the shrapnel that should have killed me." "Oh, Marcus." "I was the only one who walked out. The only one." He drained the whiskey. "Some days I wish I hadn't." Elena didn't know what to say. So she did what Titan had done for her. She simply sat beside him, present, solid, a reminder that he wasn't alone. After a long moment, Marcus spoke again. That's why I couldn't walk away from you. In that parking garage. When I saw Victor's hand on your arm, when I saw the fear in your eyes. He shook his head. I couldn't save my brothers. I was too late. But I wasn't going to be too late for you. You weren't. Elena's voice was soft. You saved me, Marcus. You saved my life. Not yet. Not until Victor's behind bars, or in the ground. The words hung in the air. Dark. Final. Elena reached out and took his hand. His fingers were rough with calluses, scarred across the knuckles. Hands that had dealt violence. Hands that had also pulled her out of hell. Then let's finish it, she said. Together. The call came on the 4th morning. Marcus was outside chopping wood when his phone buzzed. An encrypted number. Bits. Talk to me. We have a problem. Bits's voice was tense. Stone made bail. Marcus's axe froze mid-swing. How the charges? Dropped. All of them. His lawyer argued that you broke into his home without authorization, that the gun was legally registered, and that Elena's injuries were consistent with falling during the break-in. The DA bought it. The DA plays golf with him. Apparently, but that's not the worst part. Marcus felt his gut tighten. What's the worst part? Stone filed a countersuit against you, breaking and entering, assault, property damage, and Bits paused. Kidnapping. Kidnapping. He's claiming you abducted Elena against her will, that she's being held hostage. He's got photos of you pulling her out of his house, security footage from a gas station you passed. He's building a narrative. Marcus's mind raced. Victor wasn't just trying to get Elena back. He was trying to flip the script, make Marcus the villain, make himself the victim. There's more, Bits continued. He put out a reward, $50,000 for information leading to Elena's location. He's got private investigators, bounty hunters, and half the lowlifes in Oregon looking for you. How long until they find the cabin? Unknown. I've scrubbed your connection to this property pretty thoroughly, but 50 grand makes people creative. I'd give it 72 hours. Maybe less. Marcus ended the call. 72 hours. 3 days. Maybe less. He walked back into the cabin. Elena was in the kitchen making breakfast. She'd started doing that on the 2nd day small domestic tasks that gave her something to focus on. She looked up when he entered, saw his face. The spatula froze in her hand. What happened? Victor made bail. Charges dropped. The color drained from her face. That's not possible. The gun, the witnesses, you. His lawyer spun it, made it look like I was the aggressor. Marcus kept his voice calm, but inside he was calculating, planning. He's also filed kidnapping charges against me and put a $50,000 bounty on your location. Elena sat down heavily. Benny immediately pressed against her legs. So, we run. Her voice was hollow. Again, we just keep running until what? Until he finds us. Until one of his bounty hunters gets lucky. We're not running. Then what? Marcus sat across from her. We go on offense. Victor thinks he's the predator here. He thinks he's hunting us. But he's wrong. What do you mean? I mean we stop hiding. We stop reacting. We take the fight to him. Elena stared at him. How? The 47 pages of evidence Bits compiled. The 2 ex-wives with stories they were paid to bury. The paralegal who was forced out. The college girlfriend who disappeared. Marcus leaned forward. Victor spent 20 years building a fortress of silence. We're going to tear it down. Those women won't talk. They're too scared. Some of them might be, but not all. Not if they see that Victor can bleed. Not if they see that someone's finally standing up to him. And if they won't, if they're too traumatized, too beaten down, then we find another way. But I've learned something about survivors, Elena. He met her eyes. They're stronger than anyone gives them credit for, including themselves. Elena was silent for a long moment. Her hands had stopped shaking. Her jaw was set. What do you need me to do? I need you to tell your story. All of it. On camera. Every hit. Every threat. Every time he made you feel like you were nothing. We document everything, and we send it to every news outlet in the state. He'll sue. He'll claim defamation. Let him. By the time he gets a court date, the story will already be out there. And once it's out, other women will come forward. I've seen it happen before. Predators like Victor survive on silence. Once that breaks, he's finished. He's finished. Elena took a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Then she stood up. Okay, let's do it. But first, she walked to the window, looking out at the mountains. I want to learn how to use a gun. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's a big step. Victor taught me to be afraid of everything, including myself. She turned to face him. I'm done being afraid. That afternoon, Marcus took her out to a clearing behind the cabin. He'd brought his Glock 17, not the same model Victor had threatened her with, but close enough to trigger her trauma. That was the point. First rule, Marcus said. A gun is a tool. Nothing more. It doesn't make you powerful. It doesn't make you safe. Only your mind can do that. Elena nodded, but her eyes were fixed on the weapon in his hand. Second rule. You never point this at anything you're not willing to destroy. Ever. Not as a threat, not as a warning. If this comes out, it's because you've already decided to pull the trigger. And the third rule is the most important. He held the gun out to her. Are you ready to hear it? She reached out. Her hand trembled as it closed around the grip. This weapon doesn't control you. Your fear doesn't control you. Victor doesn't control you. Marcus held her gaze. You are the only one who gets to decide who you are. Elena's jaw tightened. She raised the gun sighted down the barrel at a target Marcus had set up a piece of plywood with a rough human silhouette painted on it. Breathe in, Marcus instructed. Breathe out. Squeeze. Don't pull. Bang! The shot went wide, hitting the dirt 3 feet from the target. Elena flinched at the recoil, nearly dropping the weapon. Again! She steadied herself, raised the gun, breathed. Bang! Closer. Still off, but closer. Again! Bang! Bang, bang! The third shot hit the edge of the target. The fourth hit center mass. Elena lowered the gun. Her hands were shaking, but there was fire in her eyes. How did that feel? Terrifying. She almost smiled. And amazing. Good. Now do it 50 more times. By sunset, Elena could hit the target 8 times out of 10. Her form was rough, but her determination was unshakable. They walked back to the cabin as darkness fell. Titan ranged ahead, sniffing the trail. Benny trotted beside Elena, his tail wagging. Thank you, Elena said quietly. For everything. For believing I could do this. I knew you could. The question was whether you knew it. I'm starting to. They reached the cabin. Marcus stopped at the door, his hand raised. Something was wrong. Titan had frozen at the edge of the clearing. His ears were flat. A low growl rumbled in his chest. What is it? Elena whispered. Marcus scanned the tree line. Nothing moved. But Titan's instincts were never wrong. Get inside, take Benny, lock yourself in the bathroom. Marcus, now! Elena grabbed Benny and ran. The door slammed behind her. The lock clicked. Marcus moved into the shadows, drawing his pistol. Titan fell in beside him, silent and deadly. They circled the cabin. Nothing at the north side. Nothing at the east. But as they rounded the south corner, footprints, fresh, multiple sets, leading from the tree line to the back window of the cabin. Someone had been here, recently, watching. Marcus followed the tracks into the trees. They led to a small clearing where the underbrush had been trampled flat. Cigarette butts littered the ground. At least 4 different boot prints. Scouts. Victor's men had found them. He pulled out his phone and dialed bits. "I need extraction, now. The cabin's compromised." "I'm already on it. I've got a safe house in Seattle." "Clean. No connection to either of you." "How long?" 6 hours, maybe 7. You'll have to drive through the night." "We might not have 6 hours." "Then make it work." Bits's voice was grim. "And Marcus, watch your 6. I intercepted a communication. Vargas is leading the team. The same Vargas from the estate." Marcus remembered the man. Thick neck, spiderweb tattoos, eyes that held nothing. "How many men?" "At least 6. Maybe more. And they're not planning to bring Elena back alive." The line went dead. Marcus ran back to the cabin. Elena was in the bathroom as instructed, Benny shaking in her arms. "We need to leave, right now." "What happened?" "What did you find?" "Victor's men were here, watching. They know where we are." Elena's face went white. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. Maybe hours, maybe minutes. Grab only what you can carry. We're leaving in 60 seconds. 53 seconds later, they were in the truck. Marcus drove without headlights, navigating by moonlight and memory. The mountain roads were treacherous, but he'd driven worse in worse conditions. Behind them, the cabin disappeared into the darkness. Ahead of them, the night stretched endless and full of danger. And somewhere in that darkness, 6 men with guns were closing in. The trap was set. The only question was who would end up caught in it. They drove for 2 hours before Marcus saw the headlights in the rear-view mirror. 1 vehicle at first, then 2. Keeping distance, but matching every turn, every acceleration, every attempt to lose them on the winding mountain roads. "They found us," Elena whispered. She was clutching Benny so tight the dog whimpered. "Not yet. They're tracking, not engaging." Marcus checked his mirrors again. "They want to see where we're going, want to make sure there's no witnesses when they move." "So what do? We don't give them what they want." Marcus yanked the wheel hard right. The truck lurched off the main road onto a logging trail that was barely visible in the darkness. Branches scraped against the windows like clawing fingers. Behind them, the headlights hesitated, then followed. "Hold on." He killed the lights completely and accelerated into pure blackness. The truck bounced over ruts and rocks. Elena braced herself against the dashboard. Titan stayed low in the back seat, body tense, ready. Marcus knew these mountains. He'd spent months up here after Syria trying to outrun his ghosts. Every trail, every clearing, every abandoned logging camp. He knew exactly where he was going. The old sawmill appeared out of the darkness like a skeleton. Rusted equipment, collapsed roof, perfect cover. Marcus pulled the truck behind a pile of rotting timber and cut the engine. Silence. "Stay here," he whispered. "No matter what you hear, stay here." "Marcus, promise me." Elena's eyes were huge in the darkness, but she nodded. Marcus slipped out of the truck. Titan followed without a sound. They melted into the shadows just as the first vehicle pulled into the clearing. Doors opened. Voices carried through the night. "The tracks end here. They're close. Spread out. Vargas wants her alive if possible, but the seal is fair game." "What about the dog? Shoot it on sight." Marcus counted 6 figures emerging from 2 SUVs, all armed, moving with the careless confidence of men who thought they were the hunters. They were wrong. He circled behind the sawmill, using the rusted machinery for cover. Titan stayed at his heel, silent as death. The first man never saw him coming. Marcus came out of the darkness like a wraith. One arm around the throat, one hand over the mouth. A precise squeeze to the carotid artery. The man went limp in 8 seconds. Marcus lowered him silently to the ground and took his weapon. A Sig Sauer P-Tor 26. 15 rounds. 5 men left. He moved through the sawmill like smoke. The second man was urinating against a wall when Titan hit him from behind. The Malinois didn't bite to kill just enough pressure on the back of the neck to drop him into unconsciousness. 4 men left. "Hey, Rodriguez, where are you?" Flashlight beams swept the darkness. Marcus pressed himself against a rusted conveyor belt, waiting. A man walked past him, close enough to touch. Marcus grabbed him from behind. The man tried to scream, but Marcus's hand was already over his mouth. A sharp twist, the crack of cartilage. Another body hit the ground. 3 men left. "Contact! We've got contact!" Gunfire erupted. Bullets pinged off metal all around Marcus. He dove behind a pile of scrap Titan at his side. "He's here. The seal is here." "Where I can't see." Marcus rose from cover and fired twice. The muzzle flash lit up the darkness like lightning. 1 man spun and fell. 2 men left. Fall back to the vehicles." Running footsteps, Marcus pursued, staying in the shadows. One of the remaining men stopped at the edge of the clearing and turned, spraying bullets wildly into the darkness. Marcus waited for the magazine to empty. Then he stepped out and put a single round through the man's shoulder. Not fatal. Deliberate. "Tell Vargas I'm coming for him." The man screamed and crawled toward the SUV. 1 man left. But where was he? "Marcus!" Elena's voice. Terrified. Marcus sprinted back toward the truck. His heart was pounding now, all the combat calm evaporating in an instant. No. He rounded the corner of the sawmill and stopped dead. Vargas had Elena. The big man stood behind her, one arm wrapped around her throat, the other pressing a gun to her temple. Benny was barking frantically from inside the truck. Titan growled but held position, waiting for a command. "Drop the weapon," Vargas said. "Now!" Marcus didn't move. His gun stayed trained on Vargas's head. But the shot was impossible. Elena was too close. 1 flinch, and she was dead. "I said drop it." "Hurt her and I'll kill you," Marcus said. His voice was flat. "Certain." "Not quickly. I'll make it last days." Tough talk from a man who's about to watch his girlfriend die. Vargas tightened his arm around Elena's throat. She gasped, clawing at his sleeve. "Mr. Stone sends his regards. He wanted me to tell you that you should have minded your own business." "Let her go. This is between me and Stone." "No, it's not. It stopped being about you the moment she chose to run." Vargas pressed the gun harder against Elena's temple. "She belongs to him. She always has. And he's very, very angry." Elena's eyes met Marcus's. He expected to see terror, helplessness, the old Elena, the one who had been conditioned to surrender. Instead, he saw fire. "Now," she whispered. Her elbow drove backward into Vargas's solar plexus. It wasn't a powerful blow, she didn't have the training for that, but it was enough. Vargas's grip loosened for a fraction of a second. Elena dropped. Marcus fired. The bullet caught Vargas in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. His gun discharged into the air. Before he could recover, Titan was on him. 70 pounds of Belgian Malinois hit Vargas like a missile. Teeth sank into his gun arm. The weapon flew into the darkness. Vargas screamed, trying to fight the dog off, but Titan was relentless. "Titan, hold!" The dog locked his jaws and held. Vargas collapsed, pinned his arm a bloody mess. Marcus ran to Elena. She was on the ground, gasping, one hand pressed to her throat where Vargas had been choking her. "Are you okay, Elena? Look at me." She looked up. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. "I did it," she whispered. "I didn't freeze. I fought back." "You did more than that. You saved yourself." He helped her to her feet. She was shaking, but she stood on her own. Stood tall. Behind them, Vargas was whimpering. Titan had him completely immobilized, jaws still locked on his arm. Marcus walked over and crouched beside the man. "You're going to deliver a message to Victor Stone." Vargas glared at him through pain-glazed eyes. "Go to hell. Tell him it's over. Tell him Elena is done being his victim. And tell him," Marcus leaned closer, "tell him I know everything. The 2 ex-wives, the paralegal, the college girlfriend, every woman he's ever hurt, every payoff, every threat. I have documentation on all of it." Vargas's expression flickered. Fear. Genuine fear. "If he comes after Elena again, if he sends one more man, makes one more phone call, I will destroy him, not kill him. That would be too easy." Marcus smiled coldly. "I'll take away everything he loves. His money, his reputation, his freedom. I'll make sure he spends the rest of his life in a cell being someone else's victim. He'll never stop. You don't know him like I do." "You're right, I don't." Marcus stood. "But I know men like him. Cowards who prey on the weak because they're terrified of facing anyone who can fight back. When he realizes I'm not afraid of him, when he understands that I will burn down his entire world if he touches her again, he'll stop. And if he doesn't..." Marcus didn't answer. He just looked at Vargas with eyes that had seen men die in a dozen different countries. Vargas looked away first. "Titan, release." The dog let go and stepped back. Vargas clutched his mangled arm, moaning. "Get out of here. Take your wounded and go. Tell Stone exactly what I said." Marcus turned his back on the man. "And don't ever let me see you again." Vargas struggled to his feet and stumbled toward the SUVs. Within minutes, the vehicles were gone, disappearing into the night. Marcus and Elena stood in the clearing. The adrenaline was fading. The enormity of what had just happened was settling in. "Is it really over?" Elena asked quietly. "Not yet, but it will be." "How can you be sure?" "Because tomorrow we're going to do what I said. Document everything. Send it to every news outlet in Oregon. Let the whole world see what Victor Stone really is." He took her hand. "Once that happens, he's finished. Even his connections won't be able to protect him." Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she squeezed his hand. "I want to do more than just document. I want to find the other women, the ex-wives, the paralegal. I want to offer them a chance to tell their stories, too. That could be dangerous. So was fighting back tonight. But I did it anyway." She turned to face him. "I'm done hiding, Marcus. I'm done being afraid. If my story can help other women escape men like Victor, if it can give them courage, then I have to try." Marcus looked at her. This woman who had been so broken, so beaten down, standing in the aftermath of violence with fire in her eyes. "Okay," he said. "Then let's do it together." They drove through the night. By dawn, they'd reached the safe house in Seattle, a nondescript apartment in a working-class neighborhood. Bits had stocked it with supplies, clean clothes, and 2 untraceable laptops. Elena slept for 4 hours. When she woke, she found Marcus at the kitchen table, papers spread everywhere. What is all this? Contact information. For Victor's victims. He looked up. Bits tracked them down. 3 ex-wives, not 2. There was one he managed to keep completely hidden. The paralegal. 2 other women who filed complaints that went nowhere. Will they talk to me? Only one way to find out. Elena sat down across from him. She picked up the first file. Sandra Martinez. Victor's first wife. Married at 22. Divorced at 25. Currently living in Boise under her maiden name. I'll start with her. The call lasted 2 hours. At first, Sandra wouldn't even confirm she'd been married to Victor Stone. But Elena kept talking, kept sharing her own story. The first slap. The way Victor made her feel like she was going crazy. The isolation from family and friends. The financial control that left her utterly dependent. By the end of the call, Sandra was crying. I thought I was the only one, she said. All these years I thought there was something wrong with me, that I deserved what he did. You didn't deserve it. None of us did. Will you really go public with this, tell everyone? Yes, and I want you to join me, if you're willing. Sandra was quiet for a long moment. Then, he told me he'd kill me if I ever talked. He said he knew people who would make it look like an accident. I know, he told me the same thing. Elena's voice was steady. But he's not as powerful as he wants us to believe. There are people helping me. People who will make sure we're protected. I'm scared. So am I. But I'm more scared of staying silent, of letting him hurt more women. Another long pause. Then Sandra said the words Elena had been hoping for. Okay, I'll do it. Tell me what you need. By the end of the week, Elena had spoken to 6 women. 3 agreed to go on record. 2 others provided written statements that could be used anonymously. Only one, the college girlfriend, refused to participate at all. She hung up the moment she heard Victor's name. Elena understood. Some wounds never healed enough to be exposed. But 3 voices were enough. 3 women with similar stories, similar injuries, similar threats. 3 voices that would be impossible to dismiss. Marcus arranged the interview with a journalist named Rachel Kim. She worked for the Portland Tribune and had a reputation for taking on powerful men who thought they were untouchable. She was tough, thorough, and absolutely fearless. They met at a neutral location, a conference room in a downtown hotel that Bits had swept for surveillance devices. Rachel listened to Elena's story without interrupting. 2 hours of testimony, photographs of injuries, medical records that Elena had secretly kept, text messages, voicemails, everything. When Elena finished, Rachel was pale. I've covered a lot of domestic violence cases, she said quietly. This is one of the worst I've ever heard. He's still out there, still powerful, still dangerous. Not for long. Rachel closed her notebook. I need a few days to verify everything. Talk to the other women. Review the documentation. But assuming it all checks out, and I have no doubt it will, this story runs next Sunday. What happens then? Then Victor Stone's life becomes a living hell. Rachel almost smiled. I've taken down men like him before. Politicians, CEOs, lawyers. Her expression hardened. They all think they're invincible. They all learn otherwise. Elena felt something shift in her chest. A weight she'd been carrying for years, finally beginning to lift. Thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet. The next few weeks are going to be brutal. Stone's lawyers will attack. His PR people will spin. He'll claim you're mentally unstable, that you're lying for money, that you're a scorned woman seeking revenge. Rachel leaned forward. Are you ready for that? Elena thought about the parking lot, the gun against her temple, the years of terror and silence and shame. I've already survived the worst he could do to me, she said. I can survive anything else. Marcus drove her back to the safe house. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Elena broke the silence. When the story comes out, Victor will know where I am. He'll come for me. Probably. Are you worried? Marcus glanced at her. Are you? Elena considered the question. Really considered it. No, she said, surprising herself. I'm not. For the first time in 10 years, I'm not afraid of him. Why not? Because I'm not alone anymore. And because, she paused, searching for the words, because I finally believe I'm worth fighting for. Marcus reached over and took her hand. You always were, he said. You just forgot. They pulled into the safe house parking lot. Titan was waiting at the window tail, wagging. Benny was probably asleep on the couch. For a moment, it almost felt like home. But Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Bits. He read it. His expression didn't change, but Elena saw his grip tighten on the steering wheel. What is it? Victor knows about the interview. He knows it's running Sunday. How? Someone at the Tribune, a source on his payroll. Marcus looked at her. He's planning something. Bits intercepted a partial communication, something about making the problem disappear before Sunday. Elena's blood went cold. He's going to kill me. He's going to try. So what do we do? Marcus's jaw tightened. His eyes went hard. We stop waiting for him to come to us. He turned off the engine. We go to him. What does that mean? It means Victor Stone is about to learn that he's not the only one who can play offense. Marcus opened his door. It means we end this, tomorrow night, once and for all. The plan was simple. Dangerously simple. Victor Stone believed he was the hunter. He had resources, connections, and the arrogance of a man who had never faced real consequences. He thought Elena was hiding, trembling, waiting to be found. He was wrong. You're sure about this? Marcus asked as they drove through the rain toward downtown Portland. Elena stared straight ahead. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was calm. She looked nothing like the terrified woman from the parking garage 2 weeks ago. He's spent 10 years making me afraid, she said. It's time he learned what that feels like. The Tribune building was lit up against the gray evening sky. Rachel Kim met them at the service entrance, her face tight with tension. We have a problem, she said as they hurried inside. Victor's lawyers sent a cease and desist. They're threatening to sue the paper for defamation if we run the story. Let them, Elena said. It's not that simple. Our legal team is nervous. The publisher is getting cold feet. Marcus stepped forward. What would change their minds? Concrete proof. Something undeniable. Rachel looked at Elena. Your testimony is powerful, but Victor's claiming you're mentally unstable, that you fabricated everything for attention and money. Of course he is. We need something that can't be explained away. Video, audio, something that shows who he really is. Elena and Marcus exchanged a glance. A silent conversation passed between them in that look. Understanding. Agreement. Resolve. I can get you that proof, Elena said. Rachel's eyes widened. How? By letting him find me. The setup took 12 hours. Bits hacked into Victor's phone and planted false information, a tip that Elena would be at a specific address tomorrow night. A warehouse near the waterfront. Isolated. No witnesses. Exactly the kind of place Victor would choose for a confrontation. But this time, the trap wasn't his. "He'll bring men," Marcus said as they prepared. "Vargas is still recovering, but there are others. He won't come alone." "I know. You could die." Elena looked at him. Really looked at him. "I've been dying for 10 years, Marcus. Slowly, piece by piece. At least this way it means something. It won't come to that. I won't let it." "I know you won't." She reached out and touched his face. "You've already saved me once. Now I need to save myself." Marcus covered her hand with his. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." "No, I'm just finally done being a victim." The warehouse was cold and empty. Elena stood in the center of the main floor, arms wrapped around herself, waiting. Hidden in the rafters above 3 cameras recorded everything. Bits was monitoring remotely, ready to call the police the moment things went wrong. And somewhere in the shadows, Marcus and Titan waited. The door crashed open at exactly 9 o'clock. Victor strode in like he owned the place, because in his mind, he owned everything. The world was just a collection of possessions waiting to be claimed. Behind him came 3 men. Not Vargas, he was still in the hospital, but cut from the same cloth. Hired muscle. Disposable violence. "Elena," Victor's voice echoed through the empty space. "Finally. Do you know how much trouble you've caused me?" She didn't run, didn't flinch, just turned to face him. "Hello, Victor." He stopped, surprised by her composure. He'd expected tears, begging, the familiar terror he'd cultivated for a decade. "You look different," he said slowly. "What happened to my sweet, obedient wife? She's dead. You killed her a long time ago." Victor laughed, but there was an edge to it now. Uncertainty. "Is that what your Navy SEAL boyfriend told you, that you're strong now, that you don't need me?" He took a step closer. "Let me remind you of reality, Elena. You are nothing. You have nothing. Everything you ever had, I gave you. You're wrong." "Am I?" Another step. His men spread out, flanking her. "Look around. You're alone in a warehouse with 4 men who will do whatever I tell them. Your protector isn't here. Your sister can't help you. The police work for me." His smile was cruel. "You're exactly where you've always been. Helpless." Elena's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "You know what's funny, Victor? I used to believe that. I used to think I was worthless, powerless, that I deserved everything you did to me. You did. No." The word rang out clear and strong. "I didn't. And neither did Sandra, or Catherine, or Maria, or any of the other women you've destroyed." Victor's expression flickered. "Who told you about—" "They did. I found them. I talked to them. And tomorrow the whole world is going to hear their stories. All of them." Elena took a step toward him. "Your lawyers can't stop it. Your connections can't bury it. By Sunday morning, everyone will know exactly what kind of monster you are." Victor's face twisted with rage. He moved faster than she expected, crossing the distance between them in 3 strides. His hand closed around her throat. "You stupid little bitch. Do you think I'll let you destroy everything I've built? Do you think I'll let you walk out of here?" Elena couldn't breathe. His fingers dug into her windpipe. Spots danced at the edges of her vision. But she didn't panic. Because she wasn't alone. "Now!" The word tore from Marcus's throat as he dropped from the rafters. Titan was already moving a streak of tan fury, launching across the concrete floor. The first thug went down before he could raise his weapon. Titan's jaws closed on his arm with crushing force. The man screamed and dropped. Marcus hit the second man mid-stride, a flying tackle that drove them both to the ground. 2 quick strikes throat temple, and the man went limp. The third thug pulled a gun. Marcus rolled behind a support beam as bullets sparked off metal. He came up firing 2 controlled shots that caught the man in the shoulder and leg, non-fatal but incapacitating. 3 seconds. 3 men down. But Victor still had Elena. He'd pulled her in front of him as a shield, one arm wrapped around her throat, the other pressing a small pistol to her head. His backup weapon. The one he always carried. "Back off!" Victor screamed, his voice cracked with panic. "Back off or I'll kill her!" Marcus froze. His gun was raised, but the shot was impossible. Elena was too close. "Let her go, Victor. It's over." "It's not over. It's never over. She's mine. She'll always be mine." "Victor." Elena's voice was calm. Impossibly calm for a woman with a gun to her head. "Look at me. Shut up. Look at me." Something in her tone made him pause. His grip loosened just a fraction. "You've already lost," Elena said. "The cameras recorded everything. Your confession, the assault. All of it. Even if you kill me, you're finished. You're lying. Check the rafters." Victor's eyes flicked upward. He saw the cameras, the blinking red lights. "No." His face went gray. "No. This is you set me up. You. I did what you taught me, Victor. I survived. I adapted. I fought back." His grip tightened again. Desperate now. Unhinged. "If I'm going down, you're coming with me." His finger moved on the trigger. Elena didn't close her eyes, didn't look away. Instead, she did exactly what Marcus had taught her. She moved. Her elbow drove backward into Victor's ribs. Her foot stamped down on his instep. Her head snapped back, connecting with his nose. The gun discharged. The bullet sang past her ear, so close she felt the heat. But she was already falling, dropping out of his grip, rolling to the side. Victor stumbled, blood streaming from his nose gun, swinging wildly. Marcus fired. The bullet caught Victor's hand. The pistol spun away, clattering across the concrete. Victor screamed, clutching his shattered fingers. He dropped to his knees, sobbing, broken. "It's over," Marcus said, approaching with his weapon still raised. "This time it's really over." Victor looked up at him. The arrogance was gone. The power was gone. All that remained was a small, pathetic man who had built his entire life on hurting people weaker than himself. "You can't do this to me," he whimpered. "Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can—" "I know exactly who you are." Elena stood over him. Her clothes were torn. Her throat was bruised. But she stood tall. "You're a coward. You're a bully. And you're going to prison. They'll never convict me. Your lawyers can't help you anymore. Neither can your judges or your politicians or your money." She crouched down until they were eye to eye. "You know why? Because the whole country is about to watch you confess. They're going to see you threaten to kill me. They're going to see you attack me. And they're going to hear the stories of every woman you've ever hurt." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "That's the police," Marcus said. "Real ones this time. Federal. The ones your money can't touch." Victor started to cry. Actually cry. Fat tears rolling down his bloody face. "Please," he begged. "Please, Elena. I'll give you anything. Money. The house. Whatever you want. Just call them off. You want to know what I want?" Elena stood up. "I want every woman you've ever hurt to see this moment. I want them to know that monsters can be defeated, that no one is too powerful to face justice." She turned her back on him. "That's what I want. And you're going to give it to me." The police arrived 4 minutes later. Federal agents, just as Marcus had promised. Bitts had contacted them directly, bypassing the local officers who might have been compromised. Victor Stone was handcuffed, read his rights, and loaded into an unmarked car. He didn't resist, didn't argue. The fight had gone out of him completely. As the car pulled away, Elena watched until it disappeared around the corner. Then she let out a breath she felt like she'd been holding for 10 years. "It's really over," she whispered. Marcus stood beside her. Titan sat at his feet. The rain had stopped. The first stars were appearing through the clouds. "How do you feel?" Elena thought about the question. Really thought about it. "I feel," she searched for the right word. "Free. I feel free." 3 months later, spring arrived in Portland like an apology. The story had run as promised. Not just in the Tribune, but everywhere. National news, international coverage, Victor Stone's face on every screen, his crimes exposed for the world to see. The trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. 6 women testified. Sandra Martinez, Catherine Wells, Maria Santos, and others who had found their courage after seeing Elena's interview. Victor Stone was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. His assets were frozen, then seized. His law firm collapsed. His name became synonymous with abuse and cowardice. Elena watched the sentencing from the gallery. She didn't cry, didn't flinch, just watched as the man who had terrorized her for a decade was led away in chains. Afterward, she walked out of the courthouse into the sunlight. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. But Elena didn't stop to answer. Marcus was waiting by the truck. Titan sat in the passenger seat, tail wagging. "How does it feel?" Marcus asked. Elena smiled. A real smile, the first one in longer than she could remember. Like the first day of the rest of my life. They drove to a small gallery in the Pearl District. Elena's gallery. She had opened it 2 months ago using the settlement money from Victor's estate. A place for survivors to display their art. A place for healing. The centerpiece of the opening exhibition was a large canvas titled The Guardian. It depicted 2 figures emerging from darkness, a man with eyes of steel and a dog with eyes of amber. Standing watch. Protecting. Marcus stared at it for a long time. "You made me look too heroic," he finally said. "I made you look exactly how I see you." He turned to her. "What happens now?" "Now," Elena took his hand. "Now I live, really live, for the first time in my adult life. And us." She squeezed his fingers. "We figure it out, together, one day at a time." Marcus nodded. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't a promise of forever. It was something better. It was honest. Titan nudged between them, demanding attention. They both laughed and knelt to pet him. "You know," Elena said, "I never thanked him properly. He saved my life that night in the parking garage. He knew you were worth saving. Dogs are smart that way. Smarter than people. Definitely smarter than me." Elena leaned over and kissed Marcus's cheek. "I don't know about that. You seem pretty smart to me." They stood up. Elena looked around her gallery at the art on the walls, at the survivors mingling and talking and healing at the life she had built from the ashes of her old existence. "I used to think I was worthless," she said quietly. "That I deserved everything that happened to me, that I would never escape. And now I know the truth." She turned to face Marcus, her eyes bright with tears she wasn't ashamed to shed. "I was never worthless. I was never weak. I was just waiting for someone to remind me how strong I really am." "You reminded yourself. I just gave you the space to do it." "No. She shook her head. You gave me more than that. You gave me hope, and that's the most powerful weapon in the world. Marcus looked at her, this woman who had survived unimaginable horror and emerged not just whole, but stronger. This woman who had faced her monster and won. You know what I've learned from all this, he said. What? That the real heroes aren't the ones who throw punches or fire guns. The real heroes are the ones who get knocked down every single day and still find the strength to stand back up. He smiled. You're the hero of this story, Elena. Not me. She reached up and touched his face. Then maybe we're both heroes, just different kinds. Outside the gallery, the sun was setting over Portland. The rain had finally stopped for good. And somewhere in a federal prison, a monster was learning that power built on fear was no power at all. Elena Reyes walked out into the golden evening light, Titan at her side, Marcus's hand in hers, and she knew with absolute certainty that she would never be afraid again. Because she had learned the most important lesson of all. The only person who could truly save her was herself. And she had. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs hope today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of courage, faith, and redemption. I pray that God grants you the eyes to see the needs of those around you and the boldness to act when it matters most. May He be a shield around you and your loved ones, protecting you from every storm and hidden danger. May He heal your past wounds and give you the strength to write a new chapter of freedom. If you believe in the power of protection and justice, and if you want to claim this blessing over your life and family, please write Amen in the comments below. Stay safe, stay strong, and God bless.